everyone, it's Ria, and today I'm going to be going through your astrology forecast horoscope for April 2025. I'm going to go through all the 12 zodiac signs and share with you what the month of April has in store for you. I'm going to talk about the major themes, the possible manifestations, what is moving forward, what is changing, what is transforming for your zodiac sign. But before I get into that, let's break down some of the themes for April because planets are moving forward. Venus and Mercury retrograde goes direct, and I'm sure a lot of people are happy to hear that, me included. We also have Mars changing signs. It's been in the sign Cancer since January, and it's moving into Leo this month. So that is going to be a major shift, a major energetic shift, like having the courage, having the confidence to get things done and really being in your manifestation mode. We also have a very emotional, love-orientated full moon in Libra, which is going to bring all the feels. We got the sun changing signs into Taurus. We also have a new moon in Taurus, which is very intense. I mean, intense is probably an understatement. We have Saturn, the Lord of Time, the Lord of Karma, in a conjunction with the North Node, which is a destiny point. So that is huge as well. Hey Aries, let's talk about April and how the transits will be impacting your zodiac. So the positive about April is that the retrogrades, Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde, they are now going to move direct and they will be moving forward into your sign again. So there's been perhaps a lot of going back and forth, a lot of revisiting old situations, perhaps old karma, and throughout this experience, a lot should be into perspective now. And now it's time with these energies to move forward, to apply the lessons and move forward. And it's also a good time to think about the last couple of weeks, the last 6 weeks of, especially with Venus retrograde, and what's that been like for you, and what were some of the themes and lessons that have come up for you and in your life. So on April the 12th, Venus in Pisces will go direct, and then it will re-enter your sign right at the end of April, April the 30th. And then we have Mercury that goes direct on April the 7th in Pisces, and it will re-enter your sign on April the 16th. So yeah, there's still some things that are carrying on from March and also February, but things are now seeming more clear. You're getting a better handle, a better idea of what are the next steps and what the next cycle, the next chapter in your life looks like for you. And when both Mercury and Venus re-enter Aries and they're direct, this is going to be go time. You're going to be really in your energy and you're going to be wanting to move forward. You're going to want to proceed forward with whatever's going on in your life. And because Venus and Mercury will be in your first house, and so will Neptune, this is all about you, your life path, your life purpose, your energy, your motivations, what you want to achieve in life. So you're going to have a lot of stamina, a lot of momentum, and there's going to be a lot of focus on yourself. There's going to be a lot of focus on building yourself, a lot of focus on progressing forward with your goals and what you want to achieve in life. And there may also be a very spiritual element here because Neptune is also in your sign. Now, something else that's moving forward is Mars. And this is really important for you because Mars is your ruler. And since December the 6th, Mars went retrograde in the sign of Leo, and then it went into Cancer. So Mars has been in the sign of Cancer since January, but on April the 18th, it will be moving forward into the next sign, Leo. Now, Mars will be going in Leo, and it's not impacted by the retrograde energy anymore. So this is go time. This is also show time. This is the time to now move forward also with your goals. Leo is a fire energy, so it has so much stamina, so much momentum. You're also a fire energy, so when Mars is in a fire sign, you have a lot of energy, a lot of drive, a lot of focus. Mars will be in your 5th house, so there's going to be a lot of focus on you again. Your inner child, what makes you happy, what makes you laugh, what gives you life, what gives you just so much happiness and joy and laughter into your life. This is also a creational energy, so you may be focusing on creating things for your life, things that make you happy, make you feel good, that are part of your goals and motivations in life. So this is a really good time. There's a lot of creativity here, a lot of creative energy available to work with. This also may impact relationships, but rather than revisiting past relationships or focusing on past relationships, or even with Mars in Cancer, there may have been a lot of reflecting and being in your emotions about a relationship. With Mars and Leo is ready to go. So, it's not letting anything hold it back. It's ready to just go. So this could be a time where, you may be dating, for some people this may be difficult depending on the transits, right? And the transits in your chart and your astrology birth chart. But if we're just looking purely at the Aries energy, it's not a type of energy that's going to be holding back to an old relationship and, all in its feel. No, it's like ready to move on. If that's what's going on in your life, it's ready to move forward. It's ready to have fun. It's ready to date. It's ready to just experience life. Like, Aries does not hold back, and with Mars in Leo, it's not going to be holding back at all. Now, let's talk about the lunar events occurring in April. On April the 12th, we have a full moon in Libra, so it's going to be in your opposite sign, and this is almost like an extension of the Venus retrograde, the Mercury retrograde, some of the themes that have been occurring for you since the start of the new year, and it has a lot to do with love. It has a lot to do with relationships. It has a lot to do with you. And, full moons bring forth conclusions, finales. They bring forth just a lot of things up in the open. Anything that has been going on behind the scenes, anything that's been brewing up, anything that's been under the surface comes up right to the forefront in a full moon. So with the full moon in Libra, this also, with the help of the solar eclipse you've just had in your sign, this is another almost rebirth energy, and another opportunity to really just make sense of everything that's been going on and really get all the lessons together, integrate them, and come to some sort of conclusion so that you can move forward. Now, this full moon in Libra will be opposing Chiron. So Chiron is known as a wounded healer. So when it's opposing the moon, we're looking at wounds from the past. We're looking at emotional wounds. We're looking at, this is a Libra energy, so where you've perhaps been wounded in love, in relationships, in partnerships, where perhaps there's been a wound even when it comes to you, your identity, your wants and needs, and how they relate and make sense in a relationship. We're also going to have this full moon in a square with Mars in Cancer. So Mars is your ruler, and in Cancer, it's really emotionally driven. So with this square, this could also bring forth a lot of emotions, a lot of past emotions that have been perhaps holding you back. And this has a lot to do with Mars retrograde as well. We also have Venus and Saturn in a conjunction. So this full moon in Libra can perhaps bring forth any limitations or make you aware of any restrictions or responsibilities that pertain to relationships. Perhaps this has to do with some past life type of karma or a past relationship karma where someone or relationship has held you back, or there was some limitations that weren't allowing you to move forward, or perhaps there was something that you wanted so bad, especially with this Chiron energy, a relationship perhaps, but it just wasn't working out. And this is going to be a time where, a lot of serious emotions, a lot of serious energy is going to come up to the forefront. So this could have a lot to do with home life as well, emotions, restrictions, limitations in love. And although Libra moon is a hopeless romantic, this is not a full moon in which the collective is going to feel all that Libra energy. In fact, it's going to reveal more of our limitations. It's going to reveal more of our restrictions and where there is tension, particularly within home, family, emotions, and the masculine and feminine energies. But let's talk about the positive. Now, the positive with any full moon is that it always brings everything that is hidden to the surface. It always brings forth intense emotions that reveal a lot of what's going on with you internally within and what needs to be shifted, what needs to change, what needs to transform. So that's given with any full moon in Libra. So with this full moon in Libra, it's revealing, where there's still old wounds, where there's still old tension, where there's still emotions regarding love and relationships that you're holding on to. But some positive transits and aspects with this full moon is we have a Mars and Saturn trine. So although you're reminded of your limitations and restrictions, there's still an opportunity here where these energies, Mars and Saturn, are flowing together harmoniously so they can give you a more sober, realistic approach towards navigating through the future, navigating through your goals and ambitions and how you want to use your energy moving forward. This could even have to do with relationships, because Mars will also be trining the North Node, and Mercury and Venus, that will all be in Pisces. So there's a lot of energies available here to merge and move forward. So yeah, it's going to be an emotional time, and love and relationships will definitely be in the forefront, but it's a lot of what's been going on since the start of the new year, and especially with this Venus retrograde. Now let's look at the new moon in Taurus. So the sun will enter Taurus on April the 19th, which will move into your second house. So there's going to be a lot of focus on money, finances, resources, your self-worth. There's going to be a lot of energy on you building yourself and using your stamina, momentum to get things done and, accomplish a lot of your goals regarding the second house. And we're going to have a new moon in Taurus on April the 27th at 7 degrees. So this new moon is a tense new moon. I mean, there's a T-square between Mars and Pluto, which is very intense. So the new moon, the sun and the moon in a square between Mars and Pluto. That's intense. Mars is known as God of War. Pluto is known as the planet of just all that is buried in the unconscious, all that is intense, all that is deep and dark. So there's a lot of intensity with this new moon in Taurus, okay? A lot of intensity. It's almost like the sun, the willpower, the moon, the emotions are kind of in a conflict between your drive and how you want to assert yourself, and Pluto, which is all about let's look deeper, let's look into the underworld, let's look into the unconscious. So these energies are not merging, they're not getting along, they're actually triggering each other. So these are different aspects of self that are triggering each other. However, within this T-square and within this tension, there's still a lot of gems, there's still a lot of wisdom, there's still a lot of, okay, take a look at all these different aspects of yourself and how can you kind of integrate them, how can you manage them all so that they can work together harmoniously. It's going to reveal the tension. And sometimes, when we're wanting to manifest and we're struggling with manifestation, it's because there's tension or there's something that's holding us back or there's a block, and those are different aspects of self. And with this new moon in Taurus, if you do want to manifest, if you do want to work towards certain things in your life, and for you it's going to be the second house, it's about, okay, I need to look at what's blocking me, I need to look at what's not working well, I need to look at what's building some sort of tension and not working out in order so that I can achieve my goal. So it's going to reveal that to you. Now with this new moon, we also have Saturn, Venus, and the North Node in a conjunction, and they're going to be trining Juno. So this is giving an opportunity for long-term relationships, future relationships. So with the full moon in Libra, there may have been some, going over past wounds or still like navigating through some type of relationship tension. But with this new moon, it brings forth a new opportunity, almost like a new beginning, where you can either meet somebody or something can be navigated through, something can work out in terms of a relationship and partnership, which is for the long term, okay? Because Saturn is all about long-term relationships. And then we also have Saturn and Uranus in a sextile, so this also brings forth an opportunity to work with innovation, to work with something new, but also be realistic and still, knowing your limitations, knowing your boundaries. And with that, taking a sober approach and then merging your innovation and your exciting energy, things you want to change, things you want to shift, you can really create something beautiful. So there is a lot of intensity with this new moon in Taurus. However, it's revealing what needs to be balanced, what needs grounding in order so that you can use your manifestational energy. And because this new moon is in Taurus, it has a lot to do with resources. It has a lot to do with feeling good about yourself. It has a lot to do with the material realm as well. It could have a lot to do with home. It could have a lot to do with food. It could have a lot to do with relationships. It could have a lot to do with experiences. It could have a lot to do with taking care of yourself, like self-care. That's Taurus. So take notes with whatever the new moon in Taurus brings forward into your life. Now, to end this horoscope for you, let's look at April the 21st, because Saturn and the North Node will be in a conjunction. Saturn is known as the Lord of Time, the Lord of Karma, and the North Node is a destiny point. It's what we're headed towards, the energy we're headed forward in life. So Saturn and the North Node conjunction, this could reveal limitations, this could reveal restrictions, this could reveal responsibilities, this could reveal where your attention is needed and what area of your life needs more stability, what area of your life needs more grounding, what area of your life needs more maturity, what area of your life needs you to approach it from a more sober, realistic point of view. Saturn is currently in your 12th house, but it is making its way into Aries, your sign, your first house. But right before it's about to change signs and it's in the last degrees of Pisces, it's bringing forth kind of like a reality check regarding the 12th house. So when it comes to your spiritual beliefs, when it comes to your spirituality, when it comes to your dreams, when it comes to reality and, you know, the other realms, the astral realms, the etheric realms, it's all about past lives as well, and karma and what we need to kind of balance out in this lifetime. It's about your sensitivities, your emotions. It's about your subconscious, also about your creativity. So if you're a very creative, artistic type of person who wants to use your creativity to bring forth just a lot of abundance into your life, and as an Aries, that's kind of like a goal, is how can I bring forth more abundance? How can I bring forth results? How can I use my energy? How can I be action orientated and create things? It's a creational energy, Aries. So with Saturn and the North Node in a conjunction in your 12th house, applying, you know, grounding methods, applying being very just sober, realistic, being very time orientated, being very structured. This could assist and help and support you to bring forth the results you want regarding matters of spirituality, regarding matters of emotional self-care, regarding creativity. Now, if you're, like I said, if you're working with some type of creativity and you're trying to get some results, like Saturn here is trying to support you, but it's like, let's get really mature, let's get really structured. And Aries doesn't really like structure because it's a fire sign. It likes to be on its own time clock, but Saturn here is like structure your 12th house so that we can get those results that you're looking for. So Aries, I hope you enjoyed your monthly forecast for April. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if you're an Aries or Aries rising. And I'm wishing you all the best this month, and I'll catch you in next month's horoscope. Lots of love. Hey Taurus, let's take a look at your astrology horoscope for April. So there's a lot that's changing in April. First of all, happy Taurus season, because the sun will be changing signs into Taurus. So happy birthday, happy solar return to all those celebrating. And also we're going to have an annual new moon in Taurus, which I'll get into later on in your section of the video. So to kick off with, let's talk about the retrogrades, because Mercury and Venus have been in retrograde. They've been retrograding through your 12th and 11th house, and they both will, in the month of April, go direct. Mercury goes direct in Pisces on April the 7th, and Venus goes direct in Pisces on April the 12th, and they both also will move into Aries in April. So a lot of energy in your house of groups, networks, friendships, other people, hopes and visions for the future, as well as your emotions, your sensitivities, your inner realm, the past lives, karma, if that's what you believe in, spirituality, spiritual beliefs, purpose, being of service to others, a collective. These energies have been very profound for you, and there's been a lot of back and forth, especially regarding matters of the heart and particularly relationships, because Venus has been a key player in the last couple of weeks. So now it's time to get ready to integrate those lessons, apply them, and move forward. Take your time and think about what have the lessons of Mercury and Venus retrograde been for you? What are some of the themes that have been coming up for the last couple of weeks, and how can you now move forward? Because as these planets go direct and start to gain momentum and move forward, you'll start to feel like you have a much more clear grasp of where you're headed and the direction you're headed, especially regarding the matters of the 11th and 12th house. So that's a positive. We're moving forward. Something else that's moving forward is Mars. Now, Mars has been in the sign of Cancer since January. It went retrograde in December 2024 in the sign of Leo, and then it moved into Cancer. And now it's moving back into Leo on April the 18th. However, this time it's moving into Leo and it's actually moving forward. So this can give us a lot of energy, a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence, a lot of courage, a lot of moving forward. And for you, this is going to be occurring in your 4th house of home, family, your personal life, roots, ancestry, safety, security, stability. So this energy is going to be very profound for you because home and being stable and security is so important for a Taurus. So there's going to be a lot of moving forward in this area of life. There's going to be a lot of things shifting. There's going to be a lot of momentum and a lot of energy in this area of life, like home, family, your personal life. When it comes to roots, ancestry, even if you want to get esoteric, past lives, this area of life is going to also be very profound. But now that Mars is out of its retrograde energy and it's moving forward, you got to make sure you don't fall for what you already experienced during Mars retrograde, especially when it was in Leo in your 4th house. It's time to now integrate, apply those lessons moving forward in your 4th house. So think about what December was like for you. You know, what were some of the themes in December? Because this will give you a better understanding of, you know, what you can do to move forward in a much more healthier, mindful, conscious way. Because when Mars is in retrograde, it's often, you know, very chaotic because Mars is a very alpha masculine energy, and when it's in retrograde, I mean, its energy is wild. So it's time to move forward by integrating the lessons. Now let's talk about the lunar events of April. So we have a full moon in Libra on April the 12th. This will be occurring in your 6th house. So the 6th house has to do with work, colleagues, how your daily life is structured, your habits, your routine. Health and wellness is a major one. Full moons are about endings and things coming to an end, chapters coming to an end, a big shift, things that are revealed, a change of energy, a transition, a transformation. So when it comes to your daily life, how it's structured, your routines, when it comes to wellness, self-care, work, although career is very important for you because I'm looking at Pluto in the 10th house and that is shifting and changing a lot, especially when we get into talking about the new moon in Taurus, because that is going to be a very strong energy, but I'll get into that. But on the topic of the full moon in Libra, yeah, the 6th house is going to be very profound for you. Now, this full moon in Libra has a lot to do with Venus retrograde because it's going to be in an opposition with Chiron that is known as the wounded healer. So there's a lot of relationship stuff coming up, and there's a lot of like past wounds or just like past emotions coming up to the forefront. And for you, it's connected with your 12th and 6th house. So when it comes to balancing the more spiritual, emotional, karmic side, and in balancing the present moment, balancing where you're headed in life, and what you need to do to navigate through some of the issues or situations that have occurred in the past and kind of have impacted you, especially when it comes to mind, body, soul, and spirit. This could even have to do with a shift and a change in work life as well. So take a look at your chart and take a look at if you have anything in particular, especially in your 6th or 12th house, because like any type of planet, because I'll give you more of an idea of what you can expect with this full moon in Libra. But it's about balancing. It's about balance. It's about bringing harmony into your life. It's about bringing equilibrium, especially when it comes to the matters of the 6th house. How can you bring more harmony and balance into your work life? How can you bring more balance and harmony into your daily life? What can you do to take care of yourself more? What can you do to feel more balanced? What can you do to feel more harmonious? Even though Libra is about maintaining relationships with others, with a full moon in Libra in the 6th house, it's about maintaining the relationship that you have with yourself. That is so key here. It's about mind, body, soul, and spirit. And, you know, that is just super important. If you want things to work out in your life, it starts with mind, body, soul, and spirit. Now let's move on to the new moon in Taurus. But before I get into that, let me just say that on April the 19th, the sun enters Taurus. So for a lot of you that are celebrating your solar return, this is a new cycle. This is a new chapter. The sun will be in your 1st house. So there's a lot of energy here, a lot of new beginnings, new opportunities. This is giving you like drive, momentum. It's giving you just a lot of creativity, and also it's activating you in a lot of ways so you can really kind of like carve this new cycle, this new path that you're on. Now let's talk a little bit about this new moon in Taurus. Now it's going to happen on April the 27th at 7 degrees. Take a look at your chart, because those that have any planets or aspects closest to this degree, you'll be impacted by this new moon in Taurus the most. Now typically new moons are about new beginnings, new cycles, new chapters. It's all about, you know, working with your manifestational abilities and energy to bring things that you desire into fruition. The thing about this new moon in Taurus is it's very intense because it's making a challenging aspect with both Mars and Pluto. They're in a T-square. So the energy is going to be so intense. I mean, the whole week will be very intense, and emotions will be very intense and very highly charged, and you can get triggered at any moment. Now, the thing with this new moon in Taurus is what it shows me in a much more like a spiritual perspective is that it's bringing up a lot of tension. It's bringing up a lot of triggers. It's bringing up even like blocks that you have. It's revealing things that are not working out, parts of you or aspects of you. You know, we have a Mars within us. We have a Pluto within us. We have the sun and the moon within us. All these planets are really, you know, aspects of us too. Okay, as above, so below. So during this new moon, a lot can be revealed of what's not getting on, what's not getting along, what parts of you are not getting along. You know, Mars is our masculine energy. The moon, for example, is our feminine energy. The sun is our life force. Pluto rules over the more deep, intense, soulful aspect of us. The moon is more the emotional aspect of us. So these parts of us, you know, we're being shown what is not working out, what parts of us are not in alignment. And through this kind of like big reveal, you know, we can learn about what parts of us do we need to balance out, what parts of us do we need to ground more, how can we bring more integration, how can we bring more harmony so that all the different aspects of us can work in order to bring forth manifestation, in order to bring forth what we desire. So although it's not like a basic new moon in Taurus where, you know, it's so easy and harmonious, it's still revealing so much. Even through this intensity, it's dropping so many gems, so much wisdom. And then through that wisdom, you can work with it. And when you figure out the different parts of you that are not getting along, when you figure out how to work with all the different aspects of yourself as well, that's how you can bring forth manifestation into your life. Now, Saturn, Venus, and the North Node will also be in a conjunction. So this can remind us of our limitations, any restrictions, or, you know, where we need more stability, where we need more boundaries, especially when it comes to matters of Venus, such as love and relationships and other people, even when it comes to like spending or pleasure or even creativity. However, both Saturn, Venus, and the North Node, they're also trining Juno. Juno is the goddess of marriage, the goddess of commitment. So there is a lot of opportunity here as well for really kind of like solidifying relationships and relationships really coming into fruition for the long term, you know, not just for a short while, but for the long term, that's Juno, that's Saturn. I mean, when we're looking at relationships and you want to know if someone's the real deal, you want to look at Venus, Saturn, and Juno, and the North Node. Like, you want to look at all of those for really important placements. And so this really presents an opportunity. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, during this new moon in Taurus, but it's definitely planting the seeds. It could happen in the future. This could be something occurring in the background that is, slowly but surely manifesting. So that's good for love and relationships. We also have Saturn and Uranus in a sextile. Uranus is currently in Taurus. So this also presents a positive opportunity for growth, for expansion when it comes to Saturn and Uranus. So if you want to work with your uniqueness, if you want to work with innovation, if you want to work with change and bringing something different into your life, Saturn's like, okay, but you still got to be very structured, you got to be very committed, and you got to be very realistic. And when you apply those three things into your life with whatever you want to create, then it can definitely happen. Of course, why wouldn't it? So a very intense new moon in Taurus, but there's still so much growth here, so many opportunities here. And those that have any planets either in Taurus especially, or even if you have planets in, let's say, the fixed signs such as Leo, Aquarius, or Scorpio at 7 degrees or close by, you'll feel the intensity of this new moon in Taurus the most. Now let's talk about Saturn, because Saturn will be in a conjunction with the North Node on April the 21st. So for you, this is occurring in your 11th house. The 11th house is a house of friendships, groups, networks, your hopes and visions for the future. This is very humanitarian energy. So Saturn and the North Node in a conjunction can really bring some sort of change for the long term. Saturn here is suggesting that if you want to bring something into fruition, such as your visions into fruition, if you want to manifest some of your goals regarding the 11th house, you gotta, again, be very committed. You gotta be very realistic. You gotta be very structured and be very hardworking and get rid of those illusions, first of all, and look at everything for what it is exactly. And it can definitely happen for you. So this also brings a positive opportunity, although, with conjunctions, they can go either way. But if we're focusing on the positive, there's definitely an opportunity here to grow and to really carve out the future, especially with the matters of the 11th house. So Taurus, I hope you enjoyed your horoscope for April. Happy solar return, and I will see you very soon. Lots of love. Hey Gem Rising, let's take a look at April and the horoscope for April for your zodiac. So there's a lot of shifts and changes happening in April because a lot of energies are moving forward. Let's kick off with Mercury and Venus retrograde. So you'll be happy to know that both of these planets will be moving direct in April. So Mercury goes direct in Pisces on April the 7th, and Venus goes direct in Pisces on April the 12th. And they have been impacting both your 11th and 10th house. So Venus and Mercury retrograde kicked off in Aries. So that was impacting friendships, groups, networks, your hopes and visions for the future. Then they moved into Pisces. And if you're watching this in March or the end of March, both of them are still in Pisces, and they both will be moving back into Aries. But it's also been about career, goals, ambitions, your public life, how you kind of like present yourself to others as well, and what you want to kind of achieve in life. This area of life can also rule over life paths as well. So there's been a lot coming up for you with both these retrogrades, a lot to navigate, a lot to figure out, a lot of back and forth. So now with these energies moving direct, and they both, like I said, will move into re-enter Aries in a direct motion, it's time to apply and integrate the lessons, everything you've learned about both of the 10th, the 11th, and both Venus and Mercury retrograde and how they've been impacting you. It's time to apply and integrate those lessons and move forward, because now you'll be in a position where things will start to get much more clearer, and your path and your journey will start to move more harmoniously. Because I know with Mercury retrograde, especially when you're a gem rising, gem dominant, Mercury really impacts you because it's your ruler. And Venus in esoteric astrology is also the higher ruler of Gemini. So it's going to be a very eye-opening time by the time you're done with these retrogrades and you're moving forward. And life is going to start to pick up. The pace of life is going to start to pick up. Things will start to get much more clearer, and you'll be in a much better position in terms of making decisions, in terms of moving forward. And it's going to be quite an eye-opener. But they're moving forward, so that's a positive. Something else that's moving forward is Mars. Now, Mars has been in retrograde. It went retrograde on December the 6th. And then it started off in Leo, and then it went into Cancer. And it went direct in February, but it's been in Cancer since January. However, on April the 18th, it's moving into Leo, which means it's moving out of your second house into your third house. So the energy may have been all about resources and finances and self-worth and security and money manifestation. But now with Mars moving into Leo again, this has a lot to do with communication. This has a lot to do with the mind. This has a lot to do with your ideas. This has a lot to do with just like your daily life and your kind of daily environments and the people you're around, and also travel as well. And also when it comes to your crown chakra and your throat chakra, they are going to be going through a significant shift. With Mars and Leo, it's very confident, it's very courageous, it's very expressive, it's not only go time, but it's also show time. So if you're doing any type of speaking, any type of communication, any type of work that involves communication or exchanging ideas or being very creative, this is going to be a great time. You may also really want to travel and explore. So that's going to give you a lot of momentum and a lot of stamina and really kind of stimulate you. Now let's talk about the lunar events that are occurring in April. So let's start off with a full moon in Libra that happens on April the 12th. So this full moon in Libra is going to be occurring in your 5th house. So with the full moon in Libra happening in your 5th house, the full moon in Libra is generally anyways about harmony and love and relationships and partnerships and getting along with others and peace. It's a peacemaker. The 5th house is a house of joy, adventure, creativity, romance, dating. This area of life also rules over what your inner child requires, what makes you happy. It can also rule over children as well. So having the full moon in Libra in the 5th house is really beautiful. However, with this full moon in Libra, there is a lot of Venus retrograde energy still lingering around. So there may be some Venus retrograde themes that come up. And because this full moon in Libra is in opposition with Chiron, Chiron is known as a wounded healer, there could be some past wounds or some past emotions or past sensitivities that come up. And the full moon always gives us the opportunity to let go, to release, to, transform energies, to transform emotions, to transform things that are no longer serving us. This is also a time where things can come to the light. Anything that has been buried, anything that's been hiding, anything that's been a secret, it can be revealed during this time. Now, with all this love and relationship energy, with the full moon in Libra and, Chiron as well. We also, did I forget to mention, Venus and Saturn will be in a conjunction, which reminds us of limitations and restrictions and of what is required from us and boundaries and where we need to be more structured. There's also a lot of emotions in the mix here, and even though Gemini is not so much of an emotional energy, it's very much more logical and it's more about the logic and it's more about the intellect. However, this full moon is also going to be in a square. Hello, Mercury retrograde. I was meant to say square. It's also going to be in a square with Mars in Cancer. So this could trigger emotions. This could trigger sensitivities. this could also trigger second house theme. So when it comes to self-worth, that's a major one, especially because we're looking at the full moon in Libra and Chiron. So self-worth, this could also be connected to resources and finances, but I want to really emphasize on feeling worthy, okay? How self-validated you feel. Like that's going to be a major theme that comes up. So you can do a lot of healing during this time, a lot of spiritual healing. Now, although there's a lot of sensitivities here and a lot of emotions, there's still some positives here. You know, Mars and Saturn will be in a trine. So when it comes to working with your energy, working with your goals and being structured and being very realistic and being very committed, you know, there's an opportunity here for all these energies to work out, which can really bring a lot of positive outcomes as well. Now let's take a look at the new moon in Taurus that's occurring on April the 27th at 7 degrees. So this new moon is happening in your 12th house. The 12th house is sensitivities, it's creativity, it's where you go to also retreat in a way, where you kind of seclude yourself. It's where you find the divine, it's where you find your spiritual beliefs. It's where you find also meaning and purpose. This is the area that rules over the subconscious. If you want to get a little more esoteric, it could even be past lives and karma and creativity. So with the new moon happening here, there's a lot of emphasis in this area of life. Now this, typically having a new moon here, it would be a very sensitive, spiritual, emotional time, you know. However, this new moon is so intense because there is a T-square happening with the new moon with Mars and Pluto. So it is so intense. The energy throughout the week is going to be very triggering. Now, this could bring up a lot of triggers, a lot of sensitivities, anything that is not in alignment, aspects of you that need to be kind of like integrated, worked through. This is going to be a time where you can do a lot of shadow work. Even though it's a new moon in Taurus, throughout all these triggers, especially with Mars and Pluto here, you know, you can get into a lot of power struggles or even kind of be in like ego battles. So that's something to be mindful of. Just generally for everyone, like collectively, we can be impacted by this energy, and it's very intense. So it needs you to counsel 1,000, you know, and take time out. However, throughout the intensity of this new moon, it reveals, you know, what we need to kind of integrate or what we need to kind of transmute or what we need to shift and change so that we can work with our creational energy. For you, it's the 12th house, the 3rd house, and the 9th house that are being impacted, okay? Take a look at what else is in these areas of life for you, because that will reveal more of what this new moon in Taurus can mean for you. But they will reveal a lot of your triggers, and through learning about your triggers, you can learn about, you know, what is holding you back and what is a block in your life, and where you kind of need more grounding, where you need more harmony and balance as well. Now, one of the positives about this new moon is that Saturn, Venus, and the North Node will be in a conjunction, and they also will be in a trine with Juno. Juno is known as the goddess of marriage and commitment, so this could bring forth a new opportunity for a long-term relationship, a long-term partnership. We also have Saturn and Uranus in a sextile. So when it comes to working with your innovation, when it comes to working with your uniqueness, your ideas, as long as you're being structured, as long as you're being realistic, as long as you're committed, they can also come into fruition. So yeah, there's a lot of intensity, but there's also a lot of room for growth and a lot of room for positivity as well. Now, on April the 21st, we have Saturn, the Lord of Time, Lord of Karma, in a conjunction with the North Node, and this is going to be happening in your 10th house. So this is major when it comes to career goals, ambitions, what you want to achieve, what you want to manifest in your life. This is going to be huge. This could be a new cycle, kind of like a pivotal moment, or it can actually make you really come to terms with where you need more structure in this area of life, where you need more stability in this area of life, where you need to be more realistic, where you need to take the rose-tinted glasses off, where you need to be more committed. It can really bring you more closer to reality than ever before. And with Pisces, a Pisces energy, it can be very idealistic, and sometimes it can kind of go like overbound, and Saturn here is really trying to bring you down to earth so you can see everything for what it is, and it's there to support you, but as long as you're doing the hard work, as long as you're committed, and as long as you're being very realistic, structured, and you know your boundaries. So Gem Rising, have an incredible month ahead, and I'll catch you very soon. Hey Cancer Rising, let's take a look at your astrology horoscope for April 2025. So there's a lot changing. I want to kick off with a retrograde. So both Venus and Mercury will be both going direct in the sign of Pisces in April. And eventually they both will move into Aries again. So they're going to re-enter Aries. So there's going to be still a lot of energy in your 9th and 10th house. So your 9th house is a house of travel, higher learning, expanding the mind, expanding your horizons. And the 10th house is the area of life that rules over career, what you want to achieve in life, and your goals. So during April, although there's still going to be a lot of energy in both of these areas of life, as Mercury and both Venus go direct, you'll start to become more clearer about what has been really the learning lesson of these retrogrades. And it's going to give you a much clearer idea of where you stand and where you're headed. And things will now start to move forward in both of these areas of life. Now, something else that's really exciting is that Mars is changing signs. So Mars went retrograde on December the 6th in the sign of Leo, and due to retrograde motion, it entered your sign. So it's been in your first house since January, and it went direct in February. So there's been a lot of focus on the self, on your energy, your stamina, your momentum, what you want to achieve in life, the path you're on, your sacred fire, the sacred flame within you. There's been a lot of focus on you, me, myself, and I, and structuring your life, using your energy to create the life you want. So now Mars is going to be moving forward out of your first house into your second house. And by now you should have a better understanding, a better grasp of whatever this retrograde has taught you, and where you're headed and what you need to do to accomplish all that you want to, all that you desire. It's given you a better understanding, and it's put you in a better state of mind as well. And this is a time now to move forward. And with Mars entering Leo on April the 18th, it will enter your second house. So now the focus is going to be on self-worth. It's going to be on finances, resources, and building yourself in this area of life. So that's where there's going to be a lot of energy and a lot of momentum. Now let's take a look at the lunar events that are occurring in April. So we got a Libra full moon happening in April on April the 12th. So this Libra full moon is going to be happening in your 4th house. The 4th house is an area of life that you're very familiar with because it rules over a lot of the things that your zodiac sign rules over. So we're looking at home, family, structure, stability, security. If we want to get a little more esoteric, we can get into like karma, past lives, ancestral roots. I mean, there's such a hidden side to the 4th house as well. So with a full moon here, full moons are about releasing, letting go, things coming to an end, a chapter coming to a close, things even being brought to light. And with this full moon in Libra, there's also a lot of energy in your 10th house as well. So when it comes to career, goals, ambitions, so the 10th house is more of like your external life, public life. The 4th house is more your internal realm, your private, personal life. And there seems to be, especially with this full moon, it's opposing Chiron. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. So this could bring up some past emotions, past memories, even past wounds regarding home, family structure, or even like parenting or any type of parental figure, because if we're looking at the 10th and 4th house, we're looking at parental figures in these areas of life. We're looking at structures. We're looking at security. So there could be some triggers that come up, but they're coming up because there's really something to solve during this time, and something is being brought to light. Your triggers, what's holding you back, blocks, and see it as a positive, because it's revealing to you where you need balancing, where you need grounding, where you need integration, so you can move forward in life. We also have a square with this full moon in Libra. Mars is going to be in a square with this full moon in Libra, so again, matters of self, because Mars is going to be in your sign when it squares this full moon in Libra. So matters of self and your life, your identity and your path, home, family, personal relationships, career goals, ambitions, structures, parental figures, like that all will be coming up to the forefront. That's going to be like a major theme for you with this full moon in Libra. But there's something to be revealed and there's something to shift. There's something to heal. You can do a lot of shadow work with this full moon. Now let's move on to the new moon in Taurus. So the new moon in Taurus happens on April 27th. And this new moon in Taurus is going to happen in your 11th house. The 11th house rules over friendships, groups, networks, hopes and visions for the future. Now this is a very intense new moon because it's going to be in a T-square with Mars and Pluto. So with Mars and Pluto, you know, there could be a lot of power struggles here. You got to be wary of the intensity and the triggers. But again, it's showing what needs balancing and showing what needs harmony. It's showing what needs to be integrated so that you can work with your creational manifestational energy. This particularly for you has to do with friendships. Like that's where, and not just only friendships, but groups, networks, community, hopes and visions for the future, because that is where both the sun and the moon will be. So yeah, a lot of intensities coming up, a lot of triggers coming up, or this new moon can also show you where you want to grow, where you want to shift and what you want to change in your life. And perhaps new opportunities present themselves, but there's also a lot of intensity there that is revealing what is kind of hidden, what is revealing that needs to be worked through, because both, not only the sun and the moon, but Pluto and Mars, that they're not getting along in this new moon chart. They're actually kind of like challenging each other. So this new moon chart shows a lot of tension, a lot of friction, and that can kind of be like a reflection of your inner realm as well. So there could also be a lot of shadow work that occurs with this new moon in Taurus. Now I want to get into Saturn and the North Node because they'll be in a conjunction on April 21st, and this is going to happen in your 9th house. So Saturn and the North Node in a conjunction can bring forth something new or kind of like kickstart this new cycle for you, or can reveal to you where you need more structure, stability, where you need more commitment, where you need to be more realistic, and where you need to take more responsibility. And because it's happening in your 9th house, this has to do with expanding your mind. This has to do with perhaps learning. This could have to do with education. This could have to do with moving around, traveling, foreign places. So that's also going to be a major theme for you in April. So Cancer rising, I'm wishing you all the best for April, and I'll catch you very soon. Hey Leo rising, let's take a look at your astrology horoscope for April 2025. So there is a major change happening, and that's with Mars. It's going to enter your sign, okay? This is going to be really profound for you, because if you go back to December the 6th, 2024, you had Mars retrograde in your sign, and then it re-entered Cancer. But now that it's direct in Cancer, on April the 18th, it will be moving back into your sign. Now, where retrograde period was a time to slow down, reflect, kind of go into your inner world, realm, learn some lessons, now is go time and show time. Mars is going to be in your first house, so it's going to give you so much energy, so much momentum, so much confidence, so much creativity, so much courage to just go for what you want in 2025. Like, this is a time where you can get a lot done, you can achieve a lot, accomplish a lot, and it's going to be like a really good time for you because you've learned all the lessons you needed to with Mars retrograde. Now it's time to apply them, because now Mars is entering Leo, but it's direct, it's moving forward. So life is moving forward. Life is moving in a positive direction. Something you're going to be mindful of is Mars and Pluto will be in an opposition. So, you know, that could trigger like power struggles. That could be like a major shift, transformation in a relationship. You got to be mindful of like emotions running high and intense. But aside from that, Mars is now moving forward. Okay. So it is go time, show time, you know, work with your stamina, momentum, your sacred fire, your creativity, because Mars can really support you in accomplishing a lot. Now let's talk about Venus and Mercury retrograde, because they both will also be going direct in April. They will go direct in the sign of Pisces, and then both also enter Aries at different dates, as you can see on the screen. So There's still going to be a lot of themes around your 8th house and 9th house. So shared finance and resources, intimacy, deep spiritual transformation, deep shadow work, deep purging and healing, and just a lot being revealed. And when both Mercury and Venus re-enter Aries and move into your 9th house, and we're really moving forward. We're moving forward in terms of traveling. We're moving forward in terms of expanding our mind, moving around, expanding our horizons, even like higher learning, the crown chakra, communication and ideas can be really, and perspectives and philosophies and spiritual beliefs, and having faith can be super, super like a strong theme throughout April. And even like moving into May. So both Venus and Mercury are going direct. Anything going around like 8th house matters with relationships especially, this is going to be a time now when Mercury and both Venus go direct, things will start to slowly yet surely get clear, and things will start to make much more sense, and you'll be feeling like you're getting yourself together as the days go by. Okay, so it's going to be a really strong period for you. So a lot of energies now are moving forward. Let's take a look at the lunar events of April, starting off with a full moon in Libra. That's going to occur on April the 12th. So the full moon in Libra is going to happen in your 3rd house. Now, typically full moon in Libras are very harmonious, but this full moon in Libra is going to be in opposition with Chiron, okay, which is going to be in your 9th house with the sun. So the 3rd house and the 9th house axis has a lot to do with communication, movement, ideas, thoughts, even connecting with others, traveling, moving around. So there's going to be perhaps just some past emotions or sensitivities, or even past wounds that can come up regarding 3rd and 9th house matters, even matters with the heart, because full moons, they bring a lot of emotions and sensitivities up, but this full moon is in Libra, which is all about love and relationships. So matters of the heart, emotions, relationships, love, balancing out the scales, bringing more harmony and peace into these areas of life is going to be very strong and profound, a very strong theme, okay? Now, although this full moon in Libra is not like its typical manifestation, it gives us an opportunity to do like a lot of shadow work, to do a lot of healing as well. So that's going to be kind of like an extension of Venus retrograde as well. Let's take a look at the new moon in Taurus. That's going to happen on April the 27th. So the new moon in Taurus for you is going to happen in your 10th house of career goals and ambitions. Now, this is a very intense new moon because we have both Mars and Pluto in an opposition, and they're going to be in a square with the new moon. So this is a T-square. So when it comes to you, your life path, your identity, when it comes to relationships, other people, career goals, ambitions, what you want to achieve, like these are going to be the most important areas of your life with the new moon in Taurus. Like these are the areas of life that are going to be very amplified, very triggered. And what this is revealing, where there's tension and where there needs more harmony, where you need more balance, where you need more integration in these areas of life, so you can actually work with these energies and make things happen for yourself. This new moon can also show you where you have blocks, or where there's confrontation, or where there's conflicts, and where you need to integrate these energies more positively and learn about more of your triggers, so that you understand what's blocking you, what's keeping you away from manifesting, because new moons are typically associated with new beginnings, new cycles, and manifestation. So this energy is actually revealing what we need to work on in order to have manifestation occur in our life. Now, let's take a look at Saturn and the North Node, because they will be in a conjunction on April the 21st, and this is going to happen in your 8th house. So Saturn is known as the Lord of Time, the Lord of Karma, and the North Node is about the future and the path we're on. When Saturn and the North Node come into a conjunction, this could be a period of time where something profound occurs in your 8th house. Now, the 8th house rules over shared finances, shared resources, intimacy. It rules over taking relationships just to the next level. It also rules over a deep spiritual transformation. So during this time, Saturn can make you aware of where you need more structure, where you need more stability, where you need to apply more, where you need to be more realistic and where you need to be more committed, where you also need to be more mature, where you need to take more responsibility. It can really reveal those things to you regarding the 8th house, but it can also begin this new cycle for you in the 8th house. And know the 8th house has been very profound for you because the retrogrades have been here. So this could also be like an extension of the retrograde energy, but it's about moving forward now. It's about learning the lessons and becoming the wise one. That is Saturn for you. So Leo rising, April, there's a lot going on. Energies are moving forward and it's time to move forward, especially with Mars in your sign. I'm wishing you all the best and I'll see you very soon in another share. Hey Virgo, let's talk about the astrology for April 2025 and the changes occurring. So quite a lot of changes. Let's get on with the retrogrades because they will be going direct in April. So I'm sure you're happy to hear that both Mercury and Venus will be going direct in the sign of Pisces, and they will both also move into Aries in the month of April. As you can see, the dates are on the right hand of the video. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth with your 7th and 8th house. The 7th house rules over other people, one-to-one relationships, partnerships, marriage. This is also a spiritual mirror area of life. So through meeting other people, you can learn a lot about yourself and your subconscious and the different aspects of self. So relationships may have been a really strong theme for many of you. Not all of you, it really just depends on your chart. But the 7th house and Venus being retrograde in the 7th house, that is the epitome of relationship karma, balancing out relationships, navigating through relationships, whether that's past relationships or a present relationship or just even other people. It doesn't always have to be romantic, although this would insinuate a romantic type of relationship. Even business partnerships you have with other people, things you need to navigate through, figure out, sort out, things that are not working out. This is about restructuring, realigning. So that's been a major theme now. And also Mercury has been kind of like emphasizing and kind of pushing this even more further. And with the 8th house, it's had to do a lot with shared finances, shared resources, money. We can even look at it as taking relationships to the next level in terms of intimacy, deep spiritual transformation, dealing with like the dark night of the soul almost as well. And yeah, it's been really serious. Life has been really serious. So now with these retrogrades going direct, things will start to pick up the pace, especially when both Mercury and Venus move into Aries. Life will start to move forward and you're going to be in a much better headspace and you're going to have a much better sense of the direction you're headed towards regarding both 7th and 8th house matters. Now, something else that's changing is Mars. Mars will be changing from the sign of Cancer, which has been in your 11th house, and move into your 12th house because it will move into Leo on April the 18th. Now, Mars went retrograde in Leo on December the 6th. It then moved into Cancer, which it has been in since January. So we're revisiting the 12th house, but now with a much better understanding, a much better sense of faith, spirituality, a much better sense of what's been going on since December. Now, Mars doesn't really like being in the 12th house because it feels restricted. It would much rather be in the 1st house, which we will eventually get to. In the 12th house, it kind of feels a little caged because Mars is an action-orientated energy. It wants to get things done. It wants to go fast. It wants to put its foot on the gas. Whereas the 12th house is the house of kind of like seclusion. It's about the inner realm. It's about your feelings, your sensitivities. It's about the past. Mars is about the future. Let's go. So there could be a conflict here between your wants, your needs, and what overall your higher self wants you to navigate through during this time. There could be a conflict between aspects of yourself as well. Certain intense emotions or sensitivities can also come up, but this time around you may have a better sense of how to work through them because of all that the retrograde has been teaching you. But in terms of Mars being in the 12th house, it still gives you a lot of drive in terms of like creativity. It could be a great time to kind of get into your imagination and kind of channel your creativity, channel your artistic abilities in whatever form they may come into. And then when Mars does eventually move into the first house, then you can really apply that and integrate that into the outer world, into the external realm. Right now, it's a lot about processing and channeling your creativity, channeling the depths of self. And also in terms of like, this may be a strong time for your spiritual beliefs, your spiritual practices as well, and really focusing on that area of life. Now, things can be very hidden in the 12th house, and with Mars there, you got to be careful of things that are not completely clear, or you're not aware of certain things, people, or situations. That's something to be mindful of. But again, the retrograde may have taught you a lot of lessons, and this is about applying all that you've been going through since December. It's about applying those lessons, because now you must have a better sense of understanding of what has been going on and where your energy is required. But when we get into Mars moving into your sign next month, things are then going to change. Like, life is going to be on the go. Right now, it's like, okay, let's take deep breaths in and out. Let's focus on the inner realm, and then we'll get into really pouring in that energy into the outer world. Okay, so it's all about processing and channeling your inner depths during this time. Let's talk about the lunar events of April. So on April the 12th, we have a full moon in Libra. This full moon in Libra will be occurring in your second house. So this has to do with resources, what you own, money, finances, and also self-worth. This is the area of life that is going to require harmony and balance. This is the area of life that's also connected with the 8th house. So kind of an extension of what Venus retrograde has meant for you and Mercury retrograde. So there may be something major that happens, a major transformation, a major shift. There could be a major ending, a chapter closing, or something changes forms. This could also remind you of past wounds, or kind of like where you've been hurt in the past, or any type of self-worth issues can definitely come up, because this full moon is in opposition with Chiron. So you can do a lot of shadow work with this full moon in Libra, but it's connected with your 2nd and 8th house axis. So this is the money axis. This is the axis of trust, self-trust, trusting in others. This is the axis of self-worth, how others place their worth on you as well. So yeah, you can definitely be navigating through a lot of serious situations during this time, but there's going to be a major shift almost when this full moon in Libra occurs. Let's take a look at the new moon in Taurus, which occurs on April the 27th. This new moon in Taurus will be occurring in your 9th house. So new moons are about new beginnings, new cycles, new chapters. A new moon, especially in Taurus, is a beautiful new moon, because, the moon is very happy and exalted in Taurus. However, this is one of the most intense new moons, because both Mars and Pluto will be in an opposition squaring this new moon. So this is triggering your 12th house, 6th house, and 9th house. With the new moon in Taurus in your 9th house, this suggests where you want to move forward in terms of probably traveling, you want to move forward in terms of expanding your mind, you want to move forward just in general, you want to just be on this adventure, you want to enjoy the pleasures of life. However, Mars and Pluto, which are kind of like reflecting your subconscious, they're reflecting different aspects of yourself. Mars is kind of in a power struggle, and so is Pluto. They're in a power struggle with each other. So your 6th house is the house of work, the house of your daily life, your daily structure, habits, wellness. The 12th house is more of the unseen realm, your subconscious, your sensitivities, your emotions. So it seems like these areas of life, both the 12th, 6th, and 9th house, need balancing out. This new moon is going to reveal to you where you're blocked, what parts of you need more integration, where you need to apply more harmony and balance, and these are aspects of yourself that you need to kind of balance out and ground so that they can work in your favor, and so that you can manifest a better outcome for yourself. Although new moons are about manifestation, this new moon shows you where you're restricted from your manifestation. So yeah, again, this could be a deep time where you are really reflecting and doing a lot of shadow work, but through this intensity, something new can definitely come into fruition as well. Something interesting about this new moon is, although there are the challenges, Saturn, Venus, and the North Node are making a very positive aspect with Juno. So although a lot of you may have gone through a lot of like relationship stuff, this does also show that there could be a possibility or an opportunity for something long-term to come into fruition. I mean, when we're looking at synastry,
relationship chart, the first couple of places you're going to look at is where is Saturn, where is Juno, where is Venus, where is the North Node? Saturn is the long term, Juno is commitment, Venus is love and relationships, and the North Node is the destiny point. You want to see if they're all in alignment and if they're all in sync. So with this new moon, although there's a lot of intensity, it also shows a positive outcome for a relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're in a negative, toxic relationship that there's hope. No, because that's you romanticizing a relationship. And hopefully you're not doing that, because with Venus in the 7th and 8th house, the rose-tinted glasses have to come off. The wishful thinking has to come off. We got to be realistic. We got to be sober in our approach to love and relationships. We can't mask it anymore. We can't glamorize or romanticize it anymore. We got to look at the truth. That is the whole point of Venus retrograde, especially in Pisces, especially in your 7th and 8th house, is taking those rose-tinted glasses off. And of course, everyone's on their own path, so this isn't going to manifest for everyone the same way. But this does show a positive outcome. Also, Uranus and Saturn are in a positive aspect, which shows that if you are committed, structured, responsible, and you're, blending your uniqueness, your identity, your innovation, positivity, positive outcomes can work out. So, yeah, these lunar events are really strong. Now, something I want to end this video off with is on April the 21st, we have Saturn and the North Node in a conjunction. So this is going to occur in your 7th house. Saturn is known as the Lord of Time, the Lord of Karma, and the North Node is where we're headed, the future. So when they're both in your 7th house, and you've already gone through so much in your 7th house, but this suggests where there's going to be kind of like another breakthrough in terms of Saturn kind of like really shattering any of the layers of illusion, any layers of the rose-tinted glasses you're wearing. And it's going to present you with the truth, the reality of things pertaining to relationships and other people. For some, this could be a time where, this new cycle begins. It may not be happening right now in the forefront. The seeds may just be planted, but there may be a lot brewing behind the scenes. And that's kind of like Saturn. Everything takes time with Saturn. But it can, if you have taken those rose-tinted glasses off, if you've seen everything for what it is, if you're really taking responsibility and being very sober and realistic to your approach to relationships and other people, then, Saturn does and can bring something long-term. It can bring something more stable and structured, and something that is more profound, and where there is commitment, where there are two people devoted and loyal. Like, it can present that opportunity, especially if you've done that Saturn work with that Venus retrograde and that Mercury retrograde in both your 7th and 8th house. And, Saturn does reward you in the end. Saturn wants us to take responsibility. It wants us to be realistic. It wants us to be fully committed and be really sober in our approach to absolutely every aspect of life. And, when you apply and integrate those lessons, that's when you make room for more. And that is what this Saturn North Node is also kind of showing. So April is one of those months where, things are changing, picking up, moving forward, but then there's also a lot of intensity.
Hey Libra rising, let's take a look at the astrology for your zodiac sign. Kicking off with the retrogrades, both Mercury and Venus will be going direct in April. They will go direct in the sign of Pisces in your 6th house, and then they will both move into Aries at different times. You can see the dates on the right hand side of the video. So life is now going to start to move forward and pick up its pace. If there was any type of confusion, anything that you didn't understand, or if you've been navigating through some tough, deep situations, things will start to clear up now and move forward. So that is good news regarding your work life, your routine, health, wellness, self-care, and especially relationships as well, because you're going to have a full moon in your sign, which I'll get into next. So life is going to start to pick up. Things are moving forward. You're going to start to make sense of what's been going on, and everything that needed to occur, it's occurred, and it's now time to look ahead, okay? It's now time to apply and integrate those lessons. Before I get into your full moon, let me just talk about Mars, because Mars has been in retrograde. It went retrograde in December in the sign of Leo. It re-entered Cancer, and then it went direct in February, and it's been in Cancer for the last couple of months. Now it's going to re-enter Leo again on April the 18th, which means it's going to enter your 11th house. This has to do with friendships, groups, networks, also other people, communities, hopes, and visions for the future. So when I look at the 11th house and Mars in there, it's intense, of course, but there's also a lot of energy. A lot of things are moving forward, a lot of stamina, a lot of momentum. Something to look out for is Pluto will also be in an opposition with Mars as soon as Mars enters Leo. So there could be some conflict, some ego battles or tension. Just be mindful of that. But life is now starting to move forward in your 11th house as well, regarding groups, friendships, hopes, and visions for the future. A lot of activity here, a lot of energy. Moving on to the full moon in Libra in your sign. This is your annual full moon. It's going to happen on April the 12th. And this full moon is going to bring up a lot of the retrograde themes. This full moon is opposite Chiron. This is in your 7th house. Chiron is known as a wounded healer, which brings up a lot of past wounds, past memories, past emotions, past sensitivities, anywhere where you felt even isolated. And for you, regarding relationships, other people, and partnerships. So again, bringing up the Venus retrograde lessons and also some of the eclipse lessons you've been going through in general. Great time for shadow work, healing, another spiritual cleanse, spiritual purge, spiritual transformation. This has to do with yourself, your identity, where you're headed in life, your life path, and how relationships kind of fit into this. And also, this is a time where the full moon in Libra is showing you where you need balance, where you need harmony, where you need to kind of balance out the scales between your 1st and 7th house. So this could be a very profound time for you, a very relationship orientated time, but also a time where you're very focused on self, your self-worth. You're focused on your emotional self, your emotional health, mind, body, soul, spirit, and this path, this trajectory that you're on and how you're going to move forward. It's going to be very profound for a lot of Libras. We got a new moon in Taurus happening on April the 27th. So this new moon in Taurus is going to be very intense because it's in your 8th house. I mean, that's already bringing a lot of intensity. 8th house rules over shared finances, shared resources. It rules over intimacy, deep spiritual transformation. But we also have a very strong opposition between Mars and Pluto. Pluto being in your 5th house of creativity, self-expression, joy, happiness, pleasure. This could also rule over dating and romance. Mars in your 11th house, friendships, groups, communities, hopes, and visions for the future. So these 3 areas of life, they're kind of triggering each other. They're in this tense conflict with each other. Now, new moons are typically about new beginnings, new cycles, new chapters, but we're starting off intense. New moons are also associated with planting seeds, manifestation. What this new moon is actually revealing is it's showing and reflecting where parts of self are not integrated, where parts of self need balancing, where parts of self need harmony and integration. And through that, through seeing that and making those changes necessary and working through them can help you have a better handle of working with your life force, your creational energy, your manifestational energy. So if there's something you want to manifest regarding matters of the 8th house, you got to first look at what is kind of like impacting you that is not letting you kind of move forward, not letting you let those seeds blossom and grow. And when I look at the chart in this new moon, for you, how it's impacting you, it's got to do with the 11th house and the 5th house. So there could be a lot of energy regarding these areas of life that come up. This new moon also has a positive relationship aspect because Saturn, Venus, the North Node will be in a positive aspect with Juno, which is known as the goddess of commitment and marriage. So for some, this could bring out a new possibility of a relationship, a new outcome moving forward, a long-term relationship, a long-term fulfilling relationship. It may not happen during the exact time, but something behind the scenes can be brewing up. Some seeds could be planted that are really growing, and you will see the manifestation of them later on in life. We also have Saturn and Uranus in a sextile, so if you want to create change in your life and move forward, with Saturn just requires commitment. It requires being responsible and giving it your all. And that focus and that determination and commitment is what can really help you and your goals come into fruition. So this is going to be a very intense new moon. A lot of opportunity to do a lot of deep spiritual transformation and really manifest, but through doing that spiritual transformation. So a lot of intensity. Just be mindful of getting into any ego battles or power struggles with other people, but it's going to be a very revealing new moon in Taurus. Before I end this video, this horoscope for you, I want to look at Saturn in the North Node, because on April the 21st, Saturn, Lord of Time, Lord of Karma, is going to be in a conjunction with the North Node, which is the future, the path we're headed towards. Now, there's been already a lot of energy with Saturn because there's been retrogrades in your 6th house. But this is showing where you want to grow in terms of work, where you want to grow in terms of just how your life is kind of structured, your daily routines and habits and health, wellness, self-care, feeling good, mind, body, soul, and spirit. The North Node has shown that this is where you need to kind of move forward in life as well. And this is where there needs to be a focus. And Saturn is like, you need more commitment here. You need to be more responsible in this area of life. You need to really organize this life, structure this life, and commit to this area of life so that it can thrive, so that it can really just be great for you and be rewarding. That is what Saturn is requiring. So there could be also a lot of rose-tinted glasses that are shattered, or just layers that have been just there, but you've not been looking through them. They could also be dissolved. This could also mark a new beginning of some sort regarding work, something long-term regarding your daily life, daily routine, or wellness. So it's going to be quite an action-packed month, April, and I'm wishing you all the best, and I hope everything works out in your favor. Hey Scorpio, let's take a look at the astrology for April 2025. So let's right away kick off with the retrogrades, because they will be going direct in April. Both Venus and Mercury will be going direct in the sign of Pisces, and they both also will move into Aries in April. So there still may be a lot of lingering energy between both 5th and your 6th house. So relationships, dating, your dating life, even when it comes to happiness, pleasure, joy, creativity, the inner child, could also be children. And also when we look at the 6th house, that is all about Mars, which we'll get into, because that's also major for you this month. But your work life, your daily routine, your habits, your wellness, self-care, health. So the retrogrades have been impacting these areas of life, and that energy is still going to continue, but now, because these retrogrades are going direct, life in these areas will start to pick up the pace and start to move forward, and you'll have to now apply the lessons that you have learned throughout the retrograde season. So it's about moving forward now in these two areas of life. Anything that has been coming up, anything that has been like karmic in nature or has been intense, or something you've been having to kind of reevaluate, reassess, go over, it's time to now pick up the pace and move forward, and things will start to get much more clearer. Now, speaking about career and Mars is changing signs. It has been in Cancer since January. So in December, it went retrograde in Leo, went back into Cancer, and it's been there since the beginning of the year. But now on April the 18th, Mars changes signs into Leo again, into your 10th house, which is impacting career, goals, ambitions, what you want to achieve in life. This could sometimes also be your life path, life purpose, what you can find from the 10th house. So now again, with this energy, it's also similarly to Venus and Mercury retrograde. It's about integrating those lessons and now really moving forward. This is going to give you a lot of confidence, a lot of courage, a lot of stamina, momentum to really get things done, really achieve a lot of things and get ahead and move forward in your career. Things can be moving really fast, and really fast, because Mars doesn't hold back. It can give you so much energy, so much courage, where you can really make a lot of moves during this time, which can work out really well in your favor. Let's take a look at the lunar event. So we have a full moon in Libra occurring on April the 12th. That's going to happen in your 12th house. A lot of 12s there. Now, this full moon in Libra, typically the Libra full moon is very harmonious and very beautiful, but this full moon can bring up a lot of Venus retrograde issues in general, because the sun will be in your 6th house, and this full moon is actually opposing not just the sun, but also Chiron. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. So any kind of like issues around self-worth, worthiness, any sensitivities, any like past wounds, past issues, past karma can come up during this time, which gives you kind of like a window to work through those emotions, those sensitivities. This is showing you where you need peace and harmony in your life, where you need to balance the scales, and that's between your 12th and 6th house. So we're looking at your inner realm, your spirituality, your dreams, your creativity, your sensitivities, your emotions, past life karma, past life situations, memories from the past, where you kind of feel like isolated or where you feel secluded. And then you're looking at the sixth house, which is more of like your daily life, how that is structured, your daily routines, your habits, your self-care, your health, your wellness. This also rolls over work. So these are two areas that are going to be supercharged during the full moon in Libra, and that's where there's going to be a lot of energy, which gives you room for some endings to occur, cycles to come to a close, and also a new chapter to begin through that transformation, which will lead up to the new moon we're going to have, which we're going to get into now. So the new moon in Taurus happens on April the 27th. This new moon for you is happening in your 7th house. Your 7th house where Uranus has been for the longest time ever. So this is the house of one-to-one relationships, other people, marriages. This is also the area of life that acts as a spiritual mirror, which can teach you a lot about yourself through other people. Now, this is no regular new moon in Taurus. In fact, it's very intense because both Mars and Pluto will be in an opposition together, squaring this new moon. So there's a very intense T-square happening. Mars is kind of like amplifying the energy of your 10th house. Pluto is in your 4th house of home, family, your personal life, ancestry. We can look at past lives here as well. And then you got your 7th house. So during this new moon, the most strongest energies are going to be career, home life, family life, and relationships, whether you're in a committed relationship, partnership, or even like a marriage. These two areas of life are going to be very, very triggered and very intense. And it's kind of like showing where these energies are not kind of getting along, where they're not in sync, and that kind of like presents to you where you need more integration, where you need to balance out these areas of life so that you can move in the direction you want to move in. Now, typically new moons are associated with manifesting and planting seeds, but this new moon is kind of like a spiritual mirror where it's showing you where are your blocks or what's holding you back or what is not working out. And that is why, the manifestations aren't really kicking in the way you want them to, because there's something you need to kind of figure out between your 10th, 4th, and 7th house. So through that, you'll get a better understanding of how you can actually work with your creational manifestational energy much more strongly. So watch out for this new moon because it's going to be coming through really hot. And, this could also present you with an opportunity to do a lot of shadow work as well. Now let's take a look at April the 21st, because we have Saturn, the Lord of Time, Lord of Karma, in a conjunction with the North Node. So this is also a very kind of like pivotal time, and happening in your 5th house. It's really kind of either going to show you your limitations or show you where you're kind of like held back, restricted in a way, where you need to apply more structure, stability, where you need to be more committed, more realistic, and take on more responsibilities. Or it can even set the tone for the future where it's, something can occur where if you show Saturn and put in the hard work and are committed and really take this area of life really seriously, then there's almost like this new kind of like opportunity that presents itself in regarding the 5th house. So this could have to do with feeling more pleasure in your life, finding more happiness in your life. This has to do with creativity, where you find your joy. This could even have to do with romance and dating, or even to another extent, children as well. Like, this is showing like kind of like a new kind of cycle in your life, where if you're one of those people who you work hard, but you want to play harder, you want to have more fun as well. You want your work life to be really rewarding, where you want to be able to enjoy all the pleasures of life. Saturn is like, okay, but you got to be super hardworking. You got to be really responsible and go all in and be really committed, and the rewards will come, especially pertaining to the 5th house. And I want to go back to the new moon in Taurus. Although it's a very intense new moon, it's also showing some relationship energy come up. Both Venus, Saturn, the North Node will be in a positive trine with Juno, which is known as the goddess of commitment and marriage. So this also shows an opportunity where a relationship, a fulfilling long-term relationship can also be in the cards. There is an opportunity there. Now, this depends on everyone else's unique chart and what's going on for you, but there is that positivity there. And in the new moon chart, there's also Saturn and Uranus, making a positive sextile, which is showing that there is also an opportunity for growth. If you want to work with your innovation, if you want to work with, your creativity, if you want something new in your life, if you want to change, again, you just got to apply the structure. You got to be committed, you got to be responsible and very realistic, hardworking, and then that can also work out in your favor. So Scorpio rising, a lot of things changing, things moving forward, Mars changing into your 10th house, very intense full moon and new moon. So a lot's going to be happening, but there's also a lot of changes, a lot of things moving forward now. So wishing you all the best and take care during April. Hey Sag rising, let's look at your astrology horoscope for April 2025. And starting off with a retrograde. So both Mercury and Venus retrograde go direct in April. They go direct in the sign of Pisces, and then they both will also move into Aries. So life now is going to start to pick up its pace in the areas it's been impacting you in. And for you, it's been your 4th house of home, family, your personal life, and your 5th house of joy, happiness, pleasure, romance, dating. This is the area of life that also rules over the inner child and children. So now that there's been a lot of back and forth with both of these two areas of life, it's time now with these retrogrades, when they go direct, where life will start to pick up. Things that were kind of like not progressing forward, or there was a lot of reflecting, a lot of going over certain things. You may have felt like it was a calming period. Well, now you'll be happy to know that both these two areas are starting to progress forward. It's about integrating the lessons you have learned and keep it pushing. Something else that's going to change in April is Mars. Mars has been in the sign of Cancer since January. It went retrograde in December in the sign of Leo, and then it re-entered Cancer. And on April the 18th, it will re-enter Leo, but this time it's direct. It will impact your 9th house of higher learning, expanding the mind, education, philosophies. This is also the area of life that rules over foreign places, travel. So perhaps travel is in the cards for you this month or moving forward. Mars is very action-orientated. It's all about stamina, momentum, using its energy. So I can see you moving around a lot. Traveling a lot. And it doesn't even have to be in a foreign place. It could just be there's a lot of physical activity going on. There's a lot of adventures going on. There's a lot of just unique experiences you're having, or even when it comes to like your mind, just growing and flourishing in so many different ways. And also when it comes to, if some of you are in education, that could be a thing where there's just so much focus, so much stamina, so much energy, and you can really pour into your work. So that is a positive with Mars in Leo. It gives you a lot of confidence and a lot of courage. Let's take a look at the lunar events for April. Starting off with April the 12th, we have a full moon in Libra. This full moon in Libra is not your typical Libra moon, because it is going to be in an opposition with Chiron. So this time around, you may feel some past issues, some past situations come up. Chiron is known as a wounded healer. So any type of wounds you've had in the past, that may come up during this time. And for you, it is impacting both your 11th and your 5th house. The 11th house is where the moon will be at, and that is about friendships, groups, networks, communities, your hopes and visions for the future. And the 5th house is where the sun and Chiron will be at, and that is where your energy, your life focus is at as well, which is about pleasure, happiness, joy, your inner child, which is about creativity, self-expression. And also this could rule over dating and romance and even children. Now, with the 5th house, there's a lot of Venus energy there. So this full moon could also be like an extension of Venus retrograde, some of the Venus themes coming up. Full moons are about letting go, releasing, things coming to an end, cycles coming to a close. So there could be a lot of purging, a lot of shadow work done during this time. And the 11th and the 5th house is where you need to balance the scales, where there needs to be a balance of energy and equilibrium. So this could be a time for a lot of shadow work and a lot of transformation. Moving on to the new moon in Taurus, which occurs on April the 27th. So this new moon will be occurring in your 6th house of work, habits, daily life, daily routines, self-care, health, wellness. Now, this new moon is very intense. The reason why it's so intense is because it is really fired up with Mars and Pluto in an opposition, both squaring this new moon. So Pluto is in your third house, Mars is in your ninth house, and this opposition is really going to bring out some triggers, some intensities. You know, there could be some really strong conversations or verbal confrontation or conflicts occurring. So this could be a time where all those shadows, all those buried emotions come right up to the surface. Now, what this new moon is suggesting is where there's parts of self that need integration, where there's parts of self that need to be stabilized, and where there is harmony, where harmony is required. This is connected to the sixth house as well. Now, full new moons are typically about manifesting and planting seeds, but what this new moon is showing you is where you're being held back. What is kind of like a block, where there's conflict, and where you need to learn from these aspects of self and integrate your energies so that they can work for you instead of work against you. So it's teaching us a lot about manifestation and life force and how we're using our energy and what's also causing a block. And once you kind of figure that out, that's when you can really go really strong in with your manifestations. Something positive about this new moon is Venus, Saturn, the North Node, will be in a trine with Juno. Juno is known as a goddess of commitment and marriage. So this shows also that there is an opportunity for stable long-term partnerships and relationships. We also have a positive aspect between Saturn and Uranus, which is about working with your innovation, working with your uniqueness, but still being very realistic and being very structured and committed. And if you are being committed and all that Saturn requires, then you can really get ahead and things can work out in your favor. Something else interesting happening in April is on April the 21st, Saturn and the North Node will be in a conjunction. Saturn is the lord of time, the lord of karma. Saturn shows us where we need more structure, stability, where we need to be more realistic, hardworking, and committed, and where we need to really be sober. The North Node is where we're headed in the future. This is all occurring in your fourth house. So this could either remind you of what requires a lot of your attention, what requires you to be more responsible, take more responsibility, be more accountable, where you need more structure in your life, and this is your fourth house for you. Or this could, in another sense, bring in a new cycle where if you want this area of life to really flourish, home, family, your personal life, if you want this area of life to be really stable and strong and structured, you gotta take responsibility, you gotta take accountability, you gotta be realistic, you gotta be committed to this area of life, and therefore then this area starts to become solid. Okay, so this could be kind of like a new window of opportunity as well to really stabilize this area of life, structure this life, make this area of life more secure. So, Sag rising, I hope you have an incredible month ahead, and I'll catch you very soon. Hey Capricorn, Cap rising, let's take a look at the astrology for April 2025. Kicking off with the retrogrades. The retrogrades, Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, will be going direct in April. They will go direct in the sign of Pisces and then move into Aries. So now is a time where throughout April we're going to see a difference in comparison to the last couple of weeks where Mercury and Venus have been in retrograde. Things will start to become more clearer, things will start to pick up the pace, and it's all about integrating the lessons and moving forward. So for you, the retrogrades have been impacting both your third and fourth house. So lessons around communication, lessons around home, family, your personal life, personal relationships, ancestry even. That all is going to now start to move forward. And of course, Venus being the goddess of love and relationships, that has been a key major theme of these retrogrades. But now these energies will start to pick up and move forward. So it's all about going over the lessons and applying and integrating them. Another major change is Mars. Mars will be changing signs into the sign of Leo. So it has been in the sign of Cancer since January in your 7th house. So it's been all about love, relationships, personal relationships, marriages, partnerships. And before Mars was in Cancer, on December the 6th, it was in Leo and it went retrograde. Then it re-entered Cancer. But now it's re-entering Leo again on April the 18th. And it will be moving into your 8th house. So this time around, it's about, again, applying and integrating the lessons you have learned from Mars retrograde. This has to do with shared finances, shared resources. It has to do with spiritual transformation. It has to do with even intimacy. It's all about moving forward now. And you're going to find that there's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of energy picking up in this area of life for you. So a lot of shifts and changing, a lot of moving forward in this area of life that is connected to Mars retrograde that happened on December the 6th. Let's move on to the lunar events. So we have a full moon in Libra happening on April the 12th. This full moon in Libra is going to happen for you in your 10th house of career, goals, and ambitions. The sun will be in your 4th house of home and family, and this kind of has to do with the Venus retrograde, so you'll find an extension of that energy continue. This full moon is in an opposition with Chiron, which is in your 4th house, so any old wounds, old memories, past issues, any wounded parts of self may come up to the surface, and full moons are about letting go, releasing, and the Libra full moon in particular is about harmony and balancing equilibrium. So there may be a lot of energy that comes up in your 10th house and 4th house, so regarding career, work, as well as home and family. So these two areas may be really strong, and what's going to happen during this full moon, there may be some situation or circumstance that presents itself which requires you to balance out these two areas of life. Something has to change. Something has to be transformed. So the 10th and 4th house will be of great significance for you with this full moon in Libra. Moving on to the new moon in Taurus that's happening on April the 27th. This new moon in Taurus for you is happening in your 5th house of the inner child, children. This is the area of life where you find your joy, happiness, where you find your creativity, self-expression, can also have to do with dating and romance. Now, this new moon is very intense, and the reason being so is because both Pluto and Mars will be in an opposition. Mars is in your 8th house, Pluto is in your 2nd house. This may have to do with finances, this may have to do with what you own or what you share with others, this may have to do with self-worth, and also the 5th house, which is all that I just mentioned about joy, pleasure, inner child, even children. This could have to do with your creativity, self-expression, or even romance and dating. So this new moon is going to bring forth a lot of tension, a lot of triggers. What it's revealing is where parts of you are not in alignment, where parts of you need grounding, balancing, and harmony, which parts of you need to integrate so you can get the best possible outcome, best possible manifestation regarding especially the 5th house. Now, new moons are associated with new beginnings, new cycles, new chapters, planting seeds and manifestation. And this is through the intensity, through the triggers, going to bring forth something new, a new cycle. And it's also going to show you where there's blocks that you need to kind of balance out so that you can get the highest manifestation of the 5th house as well. And the highest manifestation, the vibration of the 5th house is love. That's what it is. It's known as a house of joy, and that's love, you know. So, and I don't necessarily mean it having to do with a relationship, although it could, but it's just being in the essence, the energy, the frequency of love. Okay, so it's going to be quite an intense new moon, although it's kind of pushing you to make a change, to see different aspects of self, and see where you can navigate through certain depths, certain shadows. I mean, even though it's a new moon, it still kind of encourages us to do shadow work. The positive about this new moon is that Venus, Saturn, and the North Node will be in a positive aspect with Juno, which is known as the goddess of commitment and marriage. So this could also bring forth a possible new type of relationship that has to do with being, long term. And that may not be the case for everyone, but there's a possibility for those that are being impacted by this energy the most. It definitely shows a long-term commitment of some sort, or long-term partnership of some sort. So we also have Saturn and Uranus making a positive aspect. So this also shows that there's a possibility of working with your uniqueness, working with your creativity, your innovation, putting in time, effort, energy, and then seeing the results. Something interesting that's also happening in April is April the 21st. We have Saturn, Lord of Time, Lord of Karma, in a conjunction with the North Node, which is known as a destiny point, which is known as the future, the path we're headed towards. For you, this is occurring in your 3rd house, so it's a lot of what you've already gone through with Mercury and Venus retrograde. From one hand, it could be, again, a realization of your limitations, your restrictions, or any type of illusion, or it could require you for more structure. It could require you to put in more of the hard work, put in more of the commitment with matters of moving around, traveling, communication, matters of community as well. So the lessons you've been going through with Mercury and Venus retrograde in your 3rd house are going to kind of come up. This could also present an opportunity with really moving forward. And if you provide this area of life with the structure, the stability, the effort, the energy, the time, the care, the responsibility, then, Saturn is like, okay, let's reward this area of life and let's grow this area of life and move forward in it. So think about what these retrogrades have been for you. What has Mercury and Venus retrograde been like for you, especially when these two were in the third house? Currently, as I'm speaking, they are in your third house. So what has that been about? What have been some of the lessons? Because that's what you need to integrate and apply so that you can really move forward in this area of life and gain its wisdom, its highest wisdom, and apply it into your life and into your path as well. So Cap rising, all the best this month, and I'll catch you soon. Hey Aquarius rising, let's take a look at the astrology for April. So kicking off with the retrogrades, they both will be going direct. Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde will be going direct in the sign of Pisces, and then in April they will also move into Aries. You can see the dates on the right hand side of the video. Now, when Venus and Mercury go direct, things will start to become more clearer. Things will also start to develop further, progress further, and pick up the pace. It won't happen overnight, but it will soon enough, day by day. And it's about whatever you have learned throughout this retrograde cycle. It's about really understanding what's been going on. Some of it will carry on until, we really get out of the shadow phase. But it's about applying the lessons, integrating them, and moving forward. For you, it's had to do with finances, it's had to do with resources, it's had to do with self-worth, it's also had to do with communication and community and travel to some extent as well. But relationships, partnerships have been the main theme regarding these two areas of life, but now that's about to move forward. Something else that's changing is Mars. So if we go back to December, we had Mars going retrograde in the sign of Leo, then it re-entered Cancer. It's been in the sign of Cancer since January. It's been in your 6th house. And in April the 18th, it's changing signs. It's changing into your opposite sign, Leo. So this is the area of life for you, the 7th house of relationships, one-to-one partnerships, other people. This is an area of life where, it's a spiritual mirror. You can learn a lot about yourself through others. So with the 7th house, a lot of what you went through in December is going to come up, but this time you have a better handle of it. This time you understand what the process, the cycle has been all about, and now you're moving forward in this area of life. So whatever you had to go through throughout Mars retrograde, you are really moving forward. So in terms of work, in terms of health, in terms of your daily life, your daily routine, how it's structured, your habits, your wellness, that's moving forward. In terms of relationships, partnerships, other people, that is also moving forward. Now with Mars, you got to be careful because Mars and Pluto this month will be in an opposition, which can be really intense and triggering. It's a very confrontational energy. I mean, it can't get more confrontational than that. So you have to be careful that you don't get into like power struggles or ego battles with other people, particularly karmic people, or if you're in a relationship, or people you work with, especially like partnerships that you have. That's something to be very mindful of, because I'm telling you, it can get really intense. Pluto is in your sign, so you're feeling so intense. You're feeling just so strong within yourself. Like Pluto in your 1st house is changing your identity. It's giving you this level of confidence in a way that is different to Mars. It's giving you a level of reassurance that is different to Mars, and it may manifest differently for everyone. Typically, when you have a planet that enters the 1st house, you almost become that energy. You just start to amplify that energy within you, just starts to amplify and radiate even more strongly. So you're very Plutonian. So you might find people that are being like, they're in their Mars elements, that are being fiery, there's conflict, and you being so sure of yourself right now, having so much spiritual power within you right now, I guess you could say, you're probably not up for the BS at all, and you got to be careful with the power struggles because that can be really intense. But other than that, other than conflicts and confrontations, which really just reflect what's going on, this area of life is moving forward. Okay, we're moving forward from the retrograde energy, so that is a positive. Let's take a look at the lunar event. So we have a full moon in Libra happening on April the 12th. Now, typically the full moon in Libra is a beautiful moon, okay? Libra energy is beautiful. However, this Libra full moon will be opposite Chiron. Chiron is known as a wounded healer, so this could bring some self-esteem issues, self-worth issues. It can bring past wounds, past memories, past emotions up. And for you, this Libra full moon is occurring in your 9th house and your 3rd house. So this has to do with your mind, this has to do with communication, this has to do with your beliefs, your philosophies, this could even have to do with traveling. With the 3rd house, I see a lot of energy with people. You know, the 3rd house, it's people, it's communication, it's connection, it's being out and about. So there could be something that comes up that is very triggering, like a past memory or something that just kind of triggers you. This is also a time where, you know, you're going to be reminded of certain past situations that, you know, probably still weigh heavy, probably are still buried in the depths of your heart, you know? So this could be a huge time for shadow work, for healing, for transformation. Full moons are about letting go, releasing, transformation. And with a full moon in Libra, it's about balance, harmony. So you may need to balance and integrate these areas of life so that you can kind of move forward harmoniously, because these two energies, Chiron in the 3rd house, the sun in the 3rd house, the moon in the 9th house, it's showing where there's kind of like conflict, where energies are not getting along, and that Chiron energy is really strong, where it's bringing up a lot from the past. So a very emotional, sensitive time, but also a time for deep healing. Let's move on to the new moon in Taurus. That's going to happen on April the 27th. So this new moon in Taurus for you is going to be occurring in your 4th house of home, family. And this is also going to be occurring not only in your 4th house, but it's connected to your 1st house and your 7th house. So when it comes to self, identity, where you're headed in life, when it comes to relationships, partnerships, other people, home, family life, security, this is all being triggered. This is all going to be really intense because Mars and Pluto are in an opposition in this new moon chart, triggering the new moon in Taurus. So this is a T-square. So there could be a lot of issues that arise, or a lot of tension that arises that needs balancing, that needs to be shifted, changed, transformed. Even though this is a new moon, this is marking a new cycle, a new beginning. This is showing where there's conflict. And, you know, typically new moons are about new beginnings and planting seeds and manifestation, but what this new moon is doing is actually revealing where there's blocks, or where there's energy that is not in sync, where there's triggers that need to be balanced. This is a reflection of self, where parts of self need to be balanced, where parts of self need to be integrated, where there needs to be balance so that you can work with your creational energy, so that you can bring forth the abundance, bring forth, you know, Taurus is earth sign, and it's about stability, it's about security, it's about home, it's about pleasure, it's about relationships. So in order to balance this area of life, in order for the 4th house to flourish and be abundant, you have to take a look at what else is going on with self, and what's getting triggered here is relationships. Other people are involved here, as well as yourself, your ego, and the life path you're headed towards, home, family. So that's going to be a very strong theme with the new moon in Taurus. However, the positive is Saturn, Venus, the North Node, will be making a positive aspect with Juno, which is known as the goddess of commitment. So there could be a possible relationship or a partnership that is fulfilling, that is for the long term. That's not going to manifest for everyone the same way, but that is a possibility. We also have Saturn and Uranus in a positive aspect. So if you work with your innovation, work with your creativity, and if you want change in your life, you just got to give it structure. You got to be committed. You got to be responsible, put in the effort, the energy, and you can see those goals flourish as well. Let's take a look at Saturn conjunct the North Node, because that's occurring on April the 21st. So this has a lot to do with the retrograde energy. Saturn is currently in your 2nd house. This rules over self-worth being a main theme, and to how you value yourself, how much you believe in yourself, how much self-worth you place on yourself really is kind of a mirror, and impacts money manifestation, how much abundance you have into your life, how many resources you have available to you. So with Saturn here conjunct the North Node, this shows that there is more commitment required in this area of life. There's more responsibility, accountability. This energy requires more hard work, and it requires you to take off any rose-tinted glasses and be realistic. That is what Saturn is requiring from this area of life in order for you to move forward, in order for you to experience the fruits of your labor. Saturn really wants you to integrate those Mercury and Venus retrograde lessen so that you can move forward. And Saturn does reward you. Saturn takes time to reward you. It kind of observes, I guess you could say, the amount of effort, the amount of commitment, the amount of responsibility you place in whatever area it's ruling over. And through that, it rewards you. So a lot of changes this month, a lot of changes, a lot of moving forward, and a lot of intensity. So take care, Aquarius, and I'll catch you very soon. Hey Pisces, Pisces rising, let's take a look at your astrology forecast for April. So first things first, the retrogrades of Mercury and Venus will be going direct. And I'm sure you're happy to hear that because it's been impacting you quite intensely since it's been in your sign. And they will go direct in Pisces and will eventually, at different stages, move back into Aries. So there's still going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of themes still playing out throughout this month. However, when these energies go direct, you will slowly but surely have a better sense of self, better sense of where you're headed in life, better sense of your identity, your mind, goals, what you want from this life, purpose, path. All these things will start to be more clearer. You'll have a better handle of how to navigate these topics and themes, but also things will start to move forward now. Life will start to pick up its pace. And then when these retrograde energies do go direct and also move into Aries, when it comes to the matters of the second house, such as resources, self-worth, finances, this area of life will also start to move forward and progress forward. And I know it's been quite intense because it's been in your sign and it's been impacting you the most, especially because Saturn has been there. And I want to touch up on Saturn because something interesting that's happening later on in the month of April, April the 21st, is Saturn and the North Node will be in a conjunction, which means that this could add more responsibility. This could amplify a lot of commitment that is required. It could really bring a lot of intensity in terms of maybe there's a lot of demands. Maybe life is demanding a lot from you. Perhaps this is an area where you feel like you need more structure in your life, where you feel like, or just situations, circumstances require you to really pour into this area of life more than ever, because the illusions, any type of deceit or any type of confusion or any rose-tinted glasses, these are being shattered. These layers are really unfolding and you're able to see things for what they are. So this could be a very tense time, especially on the body, especially on the mind, the soul and spirit. So taking care of yourself is so important with this transit, but it can also kind of be a new starting point. It could be a pivotal moment where something new arises in your life that requires structure, that requires you to be committed, that requires more responsibility from you. And there are rewards with Saturn, but they take time. They take time once you kind of prove yourself to Saturn with the commitment, with the dedication, the devotion. So it can be a period of where you feel either restricted or you're more in tune with your limitations, but it's requiring more from you. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what you've been learning through Mercury and Venus retrograde in terms of self, in terms of identity, in terms of this path that you're on and purpose, mind, body, soul, and spirit, especially the physicality. So that's going to be a very strong theme for you, especially because it's in your sign. And Saturn is known as the Lord of Time, Lord of Karma, and the North Node is a destiny point. It's the future. It's the energy we're headed towards. So where you're headed towards in life, like what it's requiring from you is more reality. It needs you to be more realistic. It needs you to be more sober. It needs you to be more, and when I say it needs you to be more sober, I mean in your approach towards life. Not daydreaming about things, not hopefully wishing about things, not romanticizing situations, just being realistic with self, being realistic with every single aspect of your life. The first house is what creates the entire chart. So even though it has its own unique interpretation, it's still connected to every single other area of life because it creates the wheel in your whole astrology makeup. So it's of great importance regarding your life direction. Let's talk about Mars, because Mars, if you go back into December, went retrograde in the sign of Leo, and then it entered Cancer. It's been in Cancer since January. However, now on April the 18th, Mars will change back into Leo and it will move into your 6th house. The 6th house rules over health, wellness, self-care. It rules over work, your daily life, how it's kind of like structured, your routines and your habits. This is also the house that is an energy that is of service to others. So with Mars here, it goes back to retrograde energy. It's about applying those lessons you've learned throughout the last couple of months. It's about really pushing yourself with everything you've learned. And with Mars here, it's time to go. There's no holding back. In Leo, it's very confident, it's very courageous, it's very expressive, and it's not holding anything back. However, with Mars here, it requires taking care of self, kind of connected to the 1st house in a way. Mind, body, soul, and spirit, energy levels, momentum, stamina, something you got to be mindful of. And this could also help you a lot with work life. This could give you a lot of stamina in terms of work. Or in another manifestation, it could even bring forth conflicts, but now you have a better handle of how to navigate through intense situations. Now you got to be watchful with Mars because it will be squaring Pluto as soon as it enters Leo. So the 12th and the 6th house, you got to be mindful of. There could be some things that are hidden, some things that are not so clear because the 12th house is a very mysterious type of energy, but you can get into power struggles or ego battles. But the Mars retrograde should have prepared you by now on how to handle conflict, how to handle confrontation, how to take care of your mind, body, soul, spirit, but also temperament. That may be a huge one for you, but life is now picking up its pace. It's moving in a forward direction. Let's take a look at the lunar event. So April the 12th, we have a full moon in Libra. Now, this full moon in Libra is going to be in your 8th house. So this is connected to your 2nd house, connected to the retrograde energy, because the 8th house has to do with shared finances, shared resources, spiritual transformation, deep spiritual healing. Also, it's an extension of the 7th house, so taking relationships to the next level beyond just intimacy. It's really solidifying relationships. Like, we're looking at soul ties here. And the moon in Libra will be in your 8th house, so that's where the emotion is all about. That's where the sensitivities are. And then opposite will be the sun in your 2nd house, which is about you. The 2nd house is an extension of the 1st house, so it's about your self-worth. It's about resources, what you own in life, finances. And Chiron is going to be in the 2nd house. So the moon is going to be in opposition with Chiron. So Chiron, known as the wounded healer, can bring a lot of past situations, past wounds. Anything that is still buried deep within can come right up to the surface, because that's kind of like the magic of the moon, where it brings everything that is hidden, hiding in the depths of yourself, comes right up to the forefront. It's revealed. And full moons give us an opportunity to do spiritual healing, spiritual transformation, spiritual releasing. It's also a time where things can come to an end, chapters, cycles coming to a close for a new beginning to occur. So the 2nd and 8th house are going to be very intense for you. These are 2 areas of life, aspects of self that needs harmony. We're looking at the Libra energy here, harmony and balance. Okay, so during this full moon in Libra, that's where the energy is going to be, and that's where you may even see something shift, something change in these 2 areas of life. Moving on to the new moon in Taurus, that's going to happen on April the 27th. Now, this new moon in Taurus for you is going to happen in your 3rd house. The 3rd house has to do with communication. It has to do with mind, learning, traveling to an extent as well, moving around, even people and communities in a way as well. So even though the moon is in Taurus and it's in its exaltation in Taurus, this is a very intense new moon because Pluto and Mars are in an opposition, squaring the new moon. So there's a very intense T-square happening here. And it's going to bring up a lot, even though it's a new moon, and new moons are associated with new beginnings, new cycles. We're starting whatever we're starting here with intensity. We're starting with triggers. We're starting with tension, but it's kind of revealing where aspects of self, again, need balancing, where aspects of life need balancing and harmony. And we're looking at the 3rd house. We're looking at the 12th house and the 6th house. So these are going to be profound areas of life for you. You may find yourself in either ego battles or power struggles. That's something to be mindful of. Counsel 1,000 if your temperament or, if emotions run high, because you may say or do something that, you may be regretful about later on. But what this is essentially revealing is what parts of self need, what parts of life need more TLC, need more grounding so that they can be stable, so they can function and thrive just on a whole nother level. Okay, new moons, like I said, associated with planting seeds and manifesting. It's showing you where parts of self are not integrated enough. So the life force that you have is not able to be worked with strongly enough to manifest because of these blocks or these parts of self, parts of life that are not flowing well. So it's actually kind of like a full moon energy in a way, where you can do so much shadow work, you can do so much spiritual transformation as well. A positive about this new moon in Taurus is Venus, Saturn, and the North Node will be trining Juno, the goddess of commitment. So this could bring forth a committed long-term type of relationship or partnership. It won't happen for everyone the same way. Of course, everyone's chart is unique, but it can bring some sort of commitment or fulfillment for the long term. We also have Saturn and Uranus in a positive aspect, so that shows that if you're working with your uniqueness, if you're working with your creativity, if you're working with change, as long as you are committed, as long as you are devoted, as long as you're putting in the hard work, things can definitely work out in your favor. So Pisces, a lot moving forward, a lot changing. Wishing you all the best this month, and I'll catch you very soon.